Hello, 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 Chicago Bears fans. Welcome to the Bears Den podcast. I am your host, Andy. We have a great show lined up for you guys today. We're just going to talk about the season in review, and we're going to talk about the coaching staff situation. If you're watching us, please show us some love. Follow us, subscribe to us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and please, please, please tell your fellow Chicago Bears fans all about us. Tell them to check us out. And if you're watching the show, don't be shy. Please send us some comments. And thank you again for watching. Let me introduce the star of the show, the guy you pay to see, the alpha male, Chicago Clarence, and Todd will be joining us. He's just running late. So, Chicago Clarence, how are you doing?
What's going on, brother? How's everything?
I'm glad this season's over. Usually I never say that, but I am glad this season is over. How do you feel about this season?
I have to second that.
Yeah.
It's been a long season. 17 games is a lot of games, but when you go through turmoil the way that we did this season, it just makes it real long, makes it longer.
Yes. So Chicago Clarence, I know we ended the year on a little bit of a positive note. We did beat Green Bay somehow. The only thing I'm happy about being Green Bay is we clear the slate. That's the only thing I'm happy about. We get rid of all of our losing streaks. Our new coaching staff can go in with a clean slate. The TV commentators don't have to talk about our losing streaks. But let me ask you something. On the offensive side of the ball, what did you think of the offense this year?
I think the offense was a complete mess. It started with Shane Waldron being the offensive coordinator. His attention to detail was lacking.
Mm-hmm.
His football acumen was something to be desired. And I had never seen a coach who had the worst situation on a football decisions, as bad as Shane Waldron. And when I say situational football, I'm talking about opportune times during a game when you make certain play calls. The one that comes to mind was the handoff to Doug Kramer on the goal line against
Yes,
Washington.
that was a
That
horrible
was
call.
that was just idiotic. And that just goes in a long line of decisions that this guy made during the year, which ultimately led to him being fired during the season.
So we have Todd here. So Todd, we are live
Hey,
right now. So
hey,
thank you for
sorry about
joining
being
us.
late.
You're fine, man. Hey, let me ask you, Todd, since you're
Yeah,
joining us, you didn't get to join us Sunday on the pop-up show that me and Clarence did quickly
right.
because you were a little under the weather. Just
Yeah, something like that.
tell me what you thought of that game Sunday. Let's hear your input before we get back to we're doing a season review.
Yeah, okay. You know, just the emotion that we felt like we were in it. We had a chance, and then in the back of our minds, we're always going to blow it, always going to blow it, and DJ fumbles there at the end, and it's like, yep, that's we're just sitting there. Only us we could can be in the situation, extend the streak, and then still manage to pull it out. It was every emotion. I'm happy about it. I think it ended up costing us 3 points and 3 spots in the draft, but I don't care. That's
Yeah.
fine. And I'm a draft guy, and I don't care. I to get that and to break that streak was the biggest thing. Trying to think if anybody stood out. The defense played pretty well. There were some defensive standouts. I don't know if there was anybody particularly on offense that you would call great. But you could tell they wanted it, and they seemed to be super relieved afterwards. So that was a positive thing that it actually meant something to them too. So that was great. But
Yeah, like I said, I'm just happy the slate is clean and we
Yeah.
don't have a losing streak anymore. So, guys, getting back to the offense, the thing that stood out to me this year is just we heard it all season on TV. We were horrible in the first quarter. We only scored 20 points all season in the first quarter. Our opponents scored 89. And what I'm getting to is we were always playing from behind this year. I can't remember what exactly he said on the telecast, but when we took the lead against Green Bay, that was our first time in many, many weeks we were even leading a game. But that tells me when we're always behind, we usually most teams abandon the run because they got to throw to catch up. quickest way to catch up is throwing the ball.
Right.
And then we only scored 6 points on opening drives this season. 6 points. I mean, anybody got anything to say that this offense that was just horrible all season in the first half? Like,
I mean,
anybody?
that just tells me they're not prepared, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was about 4 or 5 games into the season they decided they were gonna do the play script thing where they were gonna, they were gonna map out the first 15 or whatever it was, and that they looked worse. Honestly, I don't remember which game that was that they started, but they actually
Indianapolis.
I
was at that game.
You were there, okay?
Yes.
So they actually looked worse than they had, and well, this game here, I mean, it was a quasi trick play on special teams, which I don't even know. I honestly don't know how you pull that off. That's once in a decade maybe where you get everybody to bite on the wrong guy. I mean, so I mean, it isn't like we had scripted up anything or so I don't know, just the game plan, the preparedness. Are we watching enough film? Find out. I mean, everybody finds our weaknesses, what we can't block, and on special teams, on field goals. Everybody else can figure out what to do against us. Why can't we do the same thing?
Chicago Clarence, you got any theory on why we were so bad? And that takes us out of our game. Like, running the ball becomes second thought when you're always playing from behind. We were always playing from behind all year.
Well, we didn't run the ball because we couldn't run the ball.
Right.
When you play behind an offensive line that we played behind, it's no wonder these numbers show what they show. There's reasoning behind everything, and it's what we speak about all the time. We call this to the carpet. You don't invest in your offensive line. $23 million is what we invested in an offensive line with a franchise quarterback, a franchise rookie quarterback. Is what we did a patchwork job on the line, and that's what we got. Because we can't run the ball. There's no need of trying to do something that you cannot do. And these problems date back to training camp. There were reporters who asked them about this. There were reporters who asked Ryan Poles about how bad the offense looked, and he said he went back to training camp. Well, you as a general manager, you don't think it's probably a good idea to address this?
Yeah.
I mean, you wait until the season starts and we start looking at these horrible numbers, and then we want to try to think that just firing Shane Waldron was going to fix this mess when we had to fire Luke Getsy the season before because of the same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I get so angry when we talk about this stuff is because we don't get out of our own way. If we have had a bad offensive line for years, fellas. What do we do?
Yeah.
What do? We come in with a new coaching staff and we bring the same guy as our offensive line coach that was under the previous administration, and we had a bad offensive line then. We made no changes. So there's no wonder that we have these numbers that we see, but it's going to be only the Bears. Yeah, only the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, the 23 million, is that the number that's official?
It's not high. It's in the 20s.
I mean,
it depends on who you slot in as a starter on a given day and all that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a sliding scale, but it's only in the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers, who are not a free spending team here that we just know fair amount because we're here. I mean, they spent 20 on a average, maybe a little better than average guard in free agency. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, I know that Garrett Bowles, who's not the greatest, he was probably the top tackle free agent. He re-upped, and I think he got in the neighborhood of 20, high 20s, mid-high 20s by himself. And that's what we're spending on an entire starting line. I mean, it had to have been we spent $10 million on the guy we cut there from Tennessee. That he was Nate so terrible. Davis. Nate Davis. So bad I can't remember his name. So
yeah,
it's Bowles got he got 20,500,000. So I mean, that's a player. You know, the top guard right now out of Kansas City's projecting at what, 23, 24.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that they'll find a way to re-sign him. We're not going to get our hands on him. So it's.
So let me ask you guys this:
disgusting.
where's this guy at all year? Like, I mean, this isn't my post, but people are like back in the day, they put people on milk cartons. I mean, he was MIA most of the year, Cole Kmet, and we gave him a nice extension. I mean, I'm not saying it his fault. It just seems like maybe Waldron and Brown don't value the tight end, but he was missing. Like did not show up much this year.
I don't know. He was one of the first guys to stand up and say, "Hey, let's be accountable."
Yes, he was,
and calling out the staff for letting guys slide. So I don't know. He had some isolated games where he had some numbers, but yeah, probably 3/4 of the games he was a 1-2 target kind of guy.
Clarence, you got any theory on where Cole Kmet was all season? Why he was missing?
Well, I mean, you got to look at his targets. What was his targets? What was his usage? You can't call out a guy if they're not throwing the ball. He can't throw the ball to himself. In the offseason, we went out there and we brought in 2 more tight ends because we were supposed to be featuring a run balanced offense, and we didn't do that. So you brought in Gerald Everett, and you brought in the Mercedes Lewis, and they were supposed to be these wonderful blockers, and we were supposed to be trying to run the ball down people's throat and mix in Cole Kmet, and we did none of that. So it's hard to call out a guy when your offense is broken.
Yeah,
our offense was broken, and it was broken all year.
It was.
There's nothing to fuss about here. He caught 47 balls on 55 targets. I mean, come
on.
That's not his fault.
That's not his fault.
With a 10-yard average and 4 touchdowns.
That's
when they threw the ball to him, he caught the ball.
Exactly.
So if it's a 16-game season, that's a little over 3 targets a game. 3.5. Give it take. Yeah, for what we're paying him. And I thought we were featured a tight end a lot this year. So guys, let me ask you on some of the big signings supposedly by Ryan Poles this year. Ryan Bates, I think we all can say he was a bust.
Yeah, horrible. He had a thing for Bates for this whole time he's been with us.
DeAndre Swift. Clarence, I'll let you take that one. Would you consider it a good signing or a bad signing?
Bad signing.
Listen, so we I give Caleb a pass for all the sacks and everything, and complain about the line, but Swift was running behind that same line, so
no. I'm talking about need. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about need.
Right.
We didn't need to sign him when we did. So I'm not talking about his talent or his ability, but we didn't need to give him that money.
Right. We didn't need to sign a running back right out.
No, we didn't need to sign a run. That's the first thing we did. And we were trying to give Saquon a bunch of money. Once again, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
But he's got to make the choice to go behind a solid line and a contender. I mean,
I don't blame him at all. But we'd
have to pay him 150% or something.
We were going to give him upwards of 12 to 14 million a year to run behind that line. Yeah. When we had other needs on this team, that makes no sense to me.
Sure.
So Keenan Allen, another big signing. Thoughts?
Yeah. I remember a lot of drops is what I remember.
That's what I remember. I'm disappointed in his effort this year because you can talk about all the other things with the offense in this team, but they threw the ball to you a lot and you dropped a lot of passes and in big situations too.
So the star of the show this year, Caleb Williams, what grade would you give this guy this year?
If you factor in everything that he had to go through, I would give him a B, a B plus.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about what you were going to give him. I'm at a solid B too. He can't play hero ball as much. All these kids want to play hero ball. He's got to take what they'll give him, and he's got to get rid of the ball in 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds. But overall, I'm really happy with him.
Yeah, I am too. I think he's got a ton of potential. I think he's got a lot more to unlock. So let me ask you guys something real quickly. If you had to name an offensive player, pick the most valuable player on offense this year, who would you pick?
I mean, that's kind of hard when the offense is historically bad as our was. I mean, I'm not going to give you an answer to that. And I'm not going to say the obvious of Caleb Williams either, because, you know, he got a B, and I'm giving you that B because of the nonsense that you had to put up with. But nobody performed at a level to where I can say I'm 100% happy. A lot of times we were sitting here having shows questioning people's effort. So, I mean, I can't name anybody for you on that. I'm not going to.
Todd,
let me think about saying back to Keenan Allen. You know, big difference from Cole. On 121 targets, he caught 70 balls. That's a lot. You know, and some of that's going to be passes, obviously, but 7 touchdowns. But I just remember a lot of drops on a guy who was supposed to be the automatic, you know, on third down, pick up the first, and I didn't see that. I mean, you know, DJ had games where he was the best player on offense, but not the whole season. My envy, it's not offense, special teams. Tory Taylor, it comes to mind. That's terrible.
So, on offense, who were you most disappointed with this season? I know that's an easier to answer. I mean, think about who were you most disappointed with? To me, it's the entire offensive line.
Yeah, at least for sure the interior. The interior. I mean, you know, Darnell had some games where he was okay, but it's hard to shot. You can't. I mean, clearly he's our best offensive lineman, but that's not saying much.
No.
So, anyway,
Clarence, do you have one guy you were most disappointed with this season?
I mean, I'm disappointed in all of them. They all get paid to do a job. No matter what your grade is, no matter how much you're making, you all get paid to do a job. My boss rode with me today all day, grading my job, grading my effort, grading the kind of my job performance, because I get paid to do a job. I'm being held accountable for doing that job. Whether you playing a game or what, it's a job that you're being paid very well to do. And they all sucked at it this year across the board. And I'm not going to sit here and just talk about coaching and other ways that the team and the organization failed this team, because you guys, you know what? There are games that we sat there and watched and we questioned effort.
Yeah.
Namely the Arizona Cardinals game. Right. I don't care what happens. I don't care how upset you are with your franchise your coach, the management. Effort has always got to be there. And there were too many times we were questioning effort. So I'm pissed at all of them. Every last one of them.
Yeah, I thought the San Francisco game where no names, someone stormed out at halftime, someone stormed out before the game was over. I even left before the game was over. But I thought, and that was, if I believe, that was Thomas Brown's first game. And I thought we would see a lot of effort with Eberflus gone, and we were flat that game. So, guys, let me ask. This one is the big one so far. Would any of you guys resign this guy, Tevin Jenkins?
To a team-friendly deal?
Yeah,
It's got to be conducive to me. It's got to make sense for me. And I'm not even starting you, because we need depth. We all can agree that we need depth on this football team. Now, we got a guy who was a starter for 3+ years here. And for the most part, when he is healthy, he performs marginally pretty well. So you ain't got to be a starter. I'm not giving you starter money. So if I can come up with a number that makes sense for me that I can swallow, then I'm going to offer it to you. But if he wants to try to break the bank, get your ass out. Don't let the doorknob hit you.
I mean, I think he's gone. And he said in his little post-game thing, he's 50-50 on returning. So I think he's
50-50? Wait a minute. Wait. He's 50-50 on returning?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to give us on the way out when your ass is always hurt? You can never start a game and finish the same game, and you're going to come and talk to me about 50-50 about wanting to come back? Every time we turn around, your ass is on crutches?
Yeah.
Please.
He's gone. I do not resign him. He's had 4 years to prove it. I don't give him any kind of 1 year prove it deal. He's gone.
Now, wait a minute. Before you say that, Andy, I want to
Yeah.
remind you.
Yeah.
60% of this team is on 1 year deals.
I know.
You need depth. We only
Yeah.
got 9 picks, and we
Yeah.
only got but so much money to spread around for free agency. We got a lot of needs.
Oh, I know. So, guys, real quickly, here was the draft. If you would you redo anything? Would you guys still take Odunze at 9? I know, and would you take Caleb at 1? And would any of you guys redo anything?
Yes, I would do. I would redo a lot. I would have taken that pick and traded it and built this team around Justin Fields. And I'm saying that, telling you that I believe Caleb is the guy. But trading that pick and garnering the draft picks that we could have got with a competent head coach, I believe we could have won in this league going that route. And I stand on it, and I'm never backing off of it. I don't give a damn if Caleb Williams turns out to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We still could have took that pick and fixed this team and brought Harbaugh in here. We would be in the playoffs. And you ain't going to say anything to me that's going to make me believe any different.
Todd, would you have done anything differently?
I mean, hindsight is perfect, obviously, and I don't know about the Justin thing. I mean, maybe, but I think just the money that the receivers make makes it easy to take Rome. I mean, Joe Alt is an impressive player. Yes. If you knew you could, in a scenario where you could trade back to 2 because Washington really wanted Caleb, and then you could trade back from 2 to 4 and secure all. But this is all make believe. You make that move, but also you've fired Poles. And I'm not necessarily a fire Poles guy, but if that's what it takes to secure Harbaugh, but still you would have probably had to fire Warren also, which I would have done. But that's all just make believe. I think Fuanga, the offensive lineman that the Saints took, it looks like he's going to just be a perennial Pro Bowler. So at 14, but we know this now, right? I mean, Olu was the next guy at 11 to the Jets, and he's looked okay, and he hasn't had a lot of playing time. But if you look at that to me, and you look at the year, I think Marvin Harrison had a pretty disappointing year, and that's the guy we all thought would be just would be a world beater, and probably the best deal on that. Brian Thomas at 23 and Quinion Mitchell at 22 are absolute studs. So you never know. And Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the league at the end of the season.
And trust me, I'm saying all of this right now, and I said it before the draft.
Yeah, well,
that I would have done this. Sure. And my feeling on this has nothing to do with Caleb Williams. But if you're going to ask me if I would have done the draft differently, I absolutely would have, and I'm going to stand on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of reason why the Patriots have got a new coach, because they were sitting in that spot to make a deal this year, and he pulled the Lovey and they won that game and moved them back to 4, and he was fired.
But look what they did. This is off the subject, but look what they did to Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas. What the hell did you expect him to do?
Right.
You brought Gardner Minshew in there, a journeyman bench rider, and gave his ass $25 million to be your starting quarterback for a franchise. What the hell did you think Antonio Pierce was going to be able to do with that team? Right. Give me a freaking break. You fired that man after 1 year when you gave his ass pennies to go grocery shopping. What the hell was he going to do?
Yeah, I know. So our boy Craig, who watches us all the time, said, I love Rome. I'm not upset about it. I agree with you. But I would have traded and I drafted a lineman. I think hindsight's always 20/20. It's easily to, but I think we should have gone. And I love Rome. I think he's going to be a stud. But I think I would have gone offensive lineman there as well.
But if you
once again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but once again, this is not casting any aspersions on Rome Odunze, because if our quarterback is having trouble standing upright, the guy was sacked 68 times this year. How in the hell are we going to get the ball to a first round a wide receiver? We're going to have trouble. He was threatening to break the damn record for sacks in the season.
Right.
So it's something to say you're going to have issues with your offense when your quarterback can't stand upright. So none of this has anything to do with Rome. All I'm simply saying is we had other needs.
Yeah,
there was another way to address it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Craig, our invites, it still stands for you to join us one day because you always comment and we appreciate it. So, guys, defensive side of the ball. Todd, it actually went downhill once we fired the Floos. It got really, really bad on that side of the ball.
I mean, I think the turning point, Andrew Billings was a big deal. Was a big loss.
He's my MVP still.
And Brisker was a huge loss. Yes. And it's so concerning that we haven't seen him at a game or anything. And it's just like, there's no point to bring him back later in the season if he could have. But
no way.
I'm really worried about that guy.
Never brought Brisker back.
The linebackers seem to take a step backwards. Edwards maybe especially, but Montez I think was hurt some because his numbers were pretty bad. Even without a partner on the other side, his numbers weren't great. Jalen was fine. But my guy, I think if you take the whole year, I was really impressed with the steps that Kyler Gordon made. I thought that he showed up and he's willing to hit and he's willing to play and he's willing, he's had injuries in the past, so that's a little stunning him. But if you look at the whole thing, he's probably my favorite defensive player for the year. So.
Yeah, I still give my MVP to Billings. To me, what he did, I know it is not sexy. It's not going to show up in fantasy, but he occupied 2 offensive linemen. Most of the time, you had to use 2 to move him. He's a big, strong guy, heavy, and that kept our linebackers clean. You could tell the difference. As soon as he went down, that offensive line was getting to our linebackers. So Clarence, anything you want to say about this defense or how it just nosedived as soon as we cut the Floos loose?
Well, I always say coaching matters.
Yeah. And
although Matt Eberflus was a terrible head coach, he was a pretty good defensive coordinator.
He was.
As far as, things went downhill, I would say, when Brisker got hurt.
Yeah.
That defense kept us in a lot of football games. And had any kind of competent offense, we would be having a very different discussion today on this show with the season being over. I was surmised to say that we will probably be in the playoffs. But with that being said, TJ Edwards came on late, but for the most part, I was not happy with our linebackers.
No.
You made a comment about Billings keeping the linebackers clean. I can't tell.
Yeah.
Because their asses made no plays. And the only time when we blitz, we're blitzing with Kyler Gordon for a reason. Our linebackers aren't getting there. And they did a poor job in coverage, and I was really surprised at how poorly they shed blocks this year. They were terrible. Yes. But with that being said, they stopped the run as a collective unit. And I'm going to give praise where praise is due. There were some times where I will question a decision that Eberflus made, particularly the Washington game on the Hail Mary call. I think that was boneheaded. But at the same time, for the most part, that game was what they had 12 points. We had held Washington too.
Yeah.
So, the defense did well, and then injuries, caught up to us, and then we fired Eberflus, and Eric Washington got in there and showed everybody that he has no clue what he's doing, coordinating the defense. So I am not going to really come down on the defense as a whole. There were some things that we can see here nitpick apart. We could pick apart Stevenson and his play.
Yeah.
Late in the year, Jalen Johnson making business decisions and not giving maximum effort, particularly on the goal line in some games. So, which is the reason why when we start talking about head coaches on why I think we need a particular kind of head coach. We need a no-nonsense type of guy to come in here and whip these dudes into shape, because we can't have some of the business decisions and the play and the bonehead decisions that these guys have been making going forward.
I think it's something else that grown ass men want to be held accountable and responsible. Like that's just doesn't seem like that's the norm in the world anymore. But nobody wants to be held accountable or responsible. But these grown ass men, I mean, they all said it. We're soft. We're coaching soft. We go soft in practice. We're a soft team. I mean, it's just hard to believe that grown ass men want to be held accountable and responsible.
That really bothers me that you would say that though, because we are talking about million fucking heirs.
I know we are.
Millionaires.
Point.
Your ass you get direct deposit twice a damn month. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. You riding around in fancy sports cars on fancy wheels. You can go eat at any damn restaurant. You can pretty much buy anything you want. But you got the audacity to sit there and tell me that you have to be held accountable. You got to be motivated to go and play a game that you'll be paying millions of dollars to do. It bothers my soul. I mean, I can't get with it.
Yeah,
I cannot.
No. So, Todd, I'll let you answer this question why Clarence calms down. Craig asked us, do you think we keep Washington as our DC or sign a true one? He thought Washington was terrible as well.
Hey, if we could fire his ass twice, we could. We should.
Well, hopefully that's up to the new coach. So, it's going to depend on who that is. But no, I think that, I think gone. that he's gone for sure. So, I mean, he could interview, I guess, with the new coach. But, I mean, he's got some insight on the players. But, he had a pretty good reputation as the defensive line coach at Buffalo. But that's a big step up, to go from just the line coach to the DC. So
guys, let me ask you about. To me, I wrote down our two biggest signings on defense was we traded for Darrell Taylor right before the year started. What do you think of that move now?
What did I tell you when it happened?
You didn't like it.
What did I tell you when it happened?
You didn't like it. We didn't do enough on the defense, and we didn't do enough on the defensive line because our pass rush was pretty much non-existent all year.
I mean, if you're looking at a rotation, if you got 9 guys, 10 guys on a defensive line, he's your 8th or 9th guy on a rotation. If you bring him in thinking he's going to be 5th in your group, then you got problems. Is a 6th round pick gonna perform better? Probably not. So the trade's probably even, but it's on a 1-year deal. So now you got to decide if you're willing to pay him the $4 or $5 million he's going to want as a veteran. Probably not.
And Kevin Byard, I wrote him down. And the reason he's key is because we don't know what's going to happen with Brisker. He's probably one concussion away from a career ending. So if we let Byard go, which we can do because we have the first year is guaranteed, the second year we have the option. We're going to need a safety. So do you bring him back? I mean, do you pick up the option and bring him back? Knowing Brisker has an injury history and he's one concussion away.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't, because there's something that you can do with Brisker. You can move him to strong safety where he's not and stop playing him down in the box to where he's making tackles. Because a lot of times they're using Brisker as that other linebacker. And when they want to load the box up, they bring in Brisker down into the box to help stop the run. I say you make him more in coverage. You draft another hard-hitting safety who maybe don't have those issues. Somebody like Shiloh Sanders, which I'm very high on. And he has a lot of the same traits as Brick. He's got good size. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", and he's not afraid to stick his head in there and put you on your ass. And that's the kind of guy I need. We need.
Yeah, there's a couple things. So Byard played well. I'm happy with his play. He this year's salary was guaranteed for a little under $4.5 million. It was a good buy. He's got a valuation on over the cap at $6 million, so it's a solid pickup. The problem is he has a dead cap savings. So if we make him a cap casualty, we save $7 million against cap, and we're probably going to do that because we need.
And but we can always re-sign him cheaper. But
or you're drafting somebody, or you're looking for somebody that's going to be a casualty on another team that you can bring in cheaper than him that you think can fill the spot. I mean, it's 31 years old.
The good thing about it is money is not a problem for us. We got plenty of cap savings, and once all of those other ones come off the books, it's not going to be an issue. I'm just thinking as going forward, I wasn't really that high on him or John. There was too many games where I just saw them getting torched. And the Arizona game comes to mind. He absolutely got worked. And he was horrible in coverage. horrible, particularly in the red zone.
Yeah. So two of our viewers.
Go ahead.
So two of our viewers, Craig, who was an avid watcher, and Aaron, both would bring Byard back. They think he was a good signing. So it's like
based
majority.
on what? I'm asking you, based on what? Please run it down for me as to why this guy is somebody that you just want to bring back, unless it is just going to be for depth. Because if you bring up the Indianapolis game, if you bring up the Jacksonville game, where that game was close because he got lost in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you on game 4 or 5 and you don't have a full training camp, how the hell do you not know what coverage you're supposed to be in and where you're supposed to be at in that coverage? Too many times he got turned around, and then you get into the red zone, he's almost a liability. And he don't hit you like Brisker does. So
I know, but Brisker can't hit. I mean, he can't lead with his helmet anymore. Like I said, it's
technique to it.
I know.
That's part of you get coached on that.
Yeah.
It's technique to it. You don't lead with your helmet.
So guys, now we're gonna move into the coaching part of this. Like this is the list. I gave it to Clarence and Todd earlier today. This is the most up-to-date list of people that we have requested interviews from. I'm not gonna read them off. I mean, I'm just going to ask you guys. I'm going to leave this up here for a minute. Chicago Clarence, you go first. I mean, are you yay and nay on any of these? You got hell yes, hell no, hard pass, hard.
The only guy on this list that I am remotely interested in is Mike Vrabel. And there's a few reasons why. Number one, he has head coach experience. That's number one. I don't see many other people on this list that has head coach experience, maybe except for Mike McCarthy, Flores, and Joe Brady was not a head coach. So
Arthur Smith?
Why Arthur Smith coached the Falcons and actually took him to a Super Bowl? But my problem with this is this. We got Ben Johnson at the top of the list. He's on everybody's wish list. This is just a list. I just put him. I know that. I'm just saying, he's on the top of the list, but he's on the top of everybody's wish list as well. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. This league and the fan bases are so fucking driven on offense and looking sexy when you scoring points that you forget that it's more to running a goddamn football team. And this is what bothers me, because this is what you're going to give us. This is your list at where we at with the Chicago Bears. This is your list. This is what you're going to give me. We let Belichick go to Chapel Hill. Mike Vrabel is probably going to be the next coach of the New England Patriots. And so you want to put all your eggs in one basket and give Ben Johnson 12, 15, 18 million a year when he's never done the job before, and we wonder why we constantly find ourselves at home doing playoffs? You got to change the way you've been doing it for years and years, because the way you've been doing it does not work. And all you got to do is have revisionist history on why your asses fell every damn year. You're sitting at home when the playoffs start. Now the Detroit Lions have surpassed you. They got a better organization and a better team than you do. And it wasn't that long ago when you were better than them. It's because of coaching.
Okay,
you
Todd,
got to dig a little deeper than that.
Todd, before you answer, Todd, Craig responded to Clarence about why he would keep Byard. Minus the Cardinals game, I think he played good enough. And being we have so many other holes to fill, we unfortunately can't address everything this season. And Brisker is one more injury away, which I agree with. I mean, I would probably bring Byard back as depth as well.
So I'm on PFF looking at Byard since we got it back up. He was the 33rd rated safety in the league. So, that's not terrible out of, I think, 120 that they rated. He had 4 games, according to them, that were off. The worst game was the Detroit game. He scored a 33 and a 43 the week before that in Minnesota, and 2 games in the mid-50s with the Cardinals and the Redskins. Overall, it's pretty solid, but, if I can move on from him, and I know we're 5th highest cap number now, but still, you could never have too much money.
No.
And I think at his age, if I can add $7 million, I mean, that's almost the entire rookie pay.
Yeah.
We set aside about $10 million for the rookies. So that gives us a true 80 something to go spend when we don't have to count for the rookie money. I think that, I think you move on from it.
So Pro Football Focus is not that good.
I understand. I really have opinion about it, but
so
still,
Todd,
I think he played well. I'd probably move on.
So Todd, let me before you answer about the coach, Craig wrote us back. Vrabel is my top choice. Obviously Ben Johnson, but that's a risk because he's never ran an organization before, which we all agree with. And Aaron Wilson said, "We have done the first time head coach thing. We need to do something different." So Todd,
preach.
Okay, so I ran down all these names and read just the basic Wikipedia because I didn't know some of these guys, and I stay on top of stuff to a pretty decent degree. And my biggest concern wasn't just lack of head coaching experience in the NFL. There was almost no head coaching experience of any kind on the college level, even. And to me, it was just really concerning. I mean, I know there's a group of young guys that are under 40 in here, and there's 3 or 4 guys that are mid 50s, and then there's the names that right? And it's just to me, I don't. So few coaches. I mean, even you go back to Belichick. I mean, they ran him out of Cleveland. The first time is usually never great.
No,
and so I mean, what I'm hoping for,
and this is our list of our coaches since Ditka, and they're all first time head coaches except for John Fox, who we ran out of Chicago because he did not want Trubisky. He wanted to go defense. So they ran him off. I mean, but
Fox
we have
was
been
past
doing
his prime too,
But we have been doing the first year head coaching thing since Ditka. And Ditka was a first year head coach, as well as Lovie Smith. We just got lucky on those two.
Yeah, Fox to me feels like McCarthy here, which I want no part of. It feels like the same thing. A guy that's done what he's going to do, and he's just riding it out till the end. I don't have any interest in that. What I'm hoping for, I hope the Baltimore Ravens embarrass the Pittsburgh Steelers and put pressure on him because I would love to, and I would probably give some compensation for Mike Tomlin. I really would, and.
It's interesting you say that because
if there's any rumor, if there's any of that stuff is true out there, I'm all over that.
So it's interesting you say that because Ryan Poles was asked that in his press conference. Would he be willing to trade for a coach? Mm-hmm. He didn't answer yes or no. He just answered nothing's off the table. But Craig wrote us back. He said he has no faith. We saw what Poles did last year with the highest cap space, and I wasn't impressed at all. I have zero faith in him this offseason. And I hope he proves me wrong. Let me ask you guys something because I've written down. Do you trust Ryan Poles can get this right?
So I've been pro Poles. I'm pretty neutral Poles right now, but I know there's a lot of people that are super down on Poles right now, and I get that.
Chicago Clarence, do you trust Poles that he can do this right? This is this man's record. With us, 15 and 36.
Right.
I mean, I just ask you, having somebody do a job and they have grossly underperformed will answer the question for you. You do not trust them because, like I said before, the most important position other than quarterback on a football team is the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Ryan Poles is a former offensive lineman. You would think if it's anybody who would know better, should have done better. And you give us the line that you gave us, and then you wonder why everything falls apart. When you build a house with a bunch of cards and you shake the table and they all come falling down and you look around like you're surprised. And that's exactly what he's doing. And his feelings is hurt because he has to answer to Kevin Warren because of the poor job that he's done. And oh, by the way, we got to make a decision on whether we're going to give him another contract or not. And we need to make that decision real soon. But if he's out there searching for the head coach, only the Chicago Bears would do this shit. You would have made the decision by now.
That's what I do not like is him being allowed to search for the head coach when he's a lame duck. He has 1 year left. Like, does that make any sense? Except to us, it makes sense, I guess.
I mean, supposedly the family's behind him, and he has to know that he has to assume that he's getting another deal. Because if he's truly a lame duck, you're giving a guy a lot of power that's pretty irrelevant.
I mean, I think he's safe. I think if he's allowed to fire the head coach, he's safe and he's in their long-term plans. Don't you guys?
Well,
Like,
listen,
he's safe, is he not?
I've come down on polls a lot, and I think that I have really good reason to. But I will say this: competent coaching, we have a better than 5-12 record, and he has an answer for that too. Unless there's some kind of reports come out that you wanted to fire Eberflus in the offseason and wasn't allowed to. But I'm going to swear by it. If Jim Harbaugh was the coach, we would be in the playoffs. With the record, I mean, the schedule that we had this year, there's no reason on earth we should have only won 5 games. If I'm the head coach, we win more than 5 damn games. And I ain't got no background in football, but I got fucking common sense. And that's what we seem to have a hard time finding in a guy in the head coach. Because the list that you gave us just now that you showed, ain't but a few of them got common sense. No, I'm talking about the ones of our former head coaches. And I'm not down on John Fox. I think John Fox came into this organization. He wanted to do things a certain way. He realized very early on how inept and stupid that we do business, and things fell to the wayside. And it made him a lame coach, a lame duck. But he didn't want Trubisky. And you guys already know how I felt when we drafted him. But John Fox is not a guy who forgot how to coach football.
So let me ask you something. If you guys had to name a name that's not on this list that you won't, you didn't get to join us Sunday night. I already know Clarence's answer. Who do you put on this list? If the name you want is not on this list, who do you put on it?
Well, I want Tomlin, but he's under contract. Until something.
I don't see Pittsburgh firing him.
I don't know.
Like, I am from Pennsylvania. I can tell you, Pittsburgh. They believe in their, like, if they hire a head coach, the Rooneys, the head coach is not the problem. Yeah. It might be an incomplete roster. It might be depth. It might be player problems. Right now, they got quarterback problems, but they never, ever blame the head coach. They always, they stick to that head coach because they believe they got the right guy. I just don't see them firing Tomlin.
Yeah,
but they gave him an extension in the offseason too. I would be shocked if they fired him.
I mean, I can only name in my lifetime Chuck Noll.
That's 3.
Yeah. Butch.
Noll.
Butch. Oh God, what's his last name? And Tomlin. That's it. I mean, they believe. Like, I am from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I'm telling you, Pittsburgh believes in their head coach. They trust them to get them through the rough times. If they think they got the right guy, they will ride that horse.
Yeah, I mean,
you see how long they ride the horses? A long time. Long time.
If I can just pick a coach, at his age, I mean, look, Reed has been amazing in Kansas City, but at his age, you would have to go with Dan Campbell, right? I mean, that guy, he's. I think. I mean, there's good coaches out there, but and it isn't just the X's and O's. We have to develop players. We've had offensive linemen come through. Look, I mean, James Daniels is like top 2 or 3 guards available this year in free agency. We drafted that guy. We invested the capital in that guy. And he's going to sign a deal somewhere else. And he went to Pittsburgh, and he learned how to
with Tomlin.
He learned how to block. He learned how to play NFL football.
Yeah.
And it's just.
I mean, I look
Sam
at
Mustipher is on the Chargers roster, and he plays.
Yeah. Don't get. And he plays for Harbaugh.
He's not a good player, but he plays for Harbaugh. And you hear his name. If you watch a Chargers game, you Mustipher pulled out. Pulling guard did this, whatever. I don't. It's so frustrating. These are our guys that we spent money and draft capital in, and they've learned how to play from real coaches.
Yeah. No, I agree. We seem to have a problem developing players.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at this list, I looked at it during lunch. I looked at it when I got home. It's like, I'm like, are they serious with Drew Penzing and Mike Kafka? Are they serious with these names?
I mean,
David Shaw? Are they serious with this shit?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
Mike.
are they
Mike
serious
Kafka,
with this?
at least he's a local guy, right? Is that what he's got for him?
I think he
played
for
played at
Philadelphia.
Northwestern. He played at Northwestern,
Yeah.
and he went to high school in Chicago. And and he's been with the Chiefs, and he knows Poles. And yeah, he might be a fantastic assistant, but you're gonna give the keys to the place to that guy? I mean,
it's the same stuff we've been doing. First year head coaches are all usually the cheapest because they're trying to prove themselves and they're going into losing situations most of the time.
You said a lot there. The cheapest. If you get a DC that's a first-time coach, you're going to get him in the bottom third of the pay tier for the coaches. I'm so sick of that crap.
If we go after Ben Johnson, we're going to do something we've never done.
Yeah.
Which is we're going to have to give that man this right here, a blank piece of paper, and say, write down what you want.
But
that's
still,
what we're going to have to do. We're going to give him a blank checkbook.
You know that guy's a leader of men? I don't know that guy's a leader of men.
No,
thank you. That's what I'm saying all the time.
We got some prima donnas in our locker room that we pay too much and we're not going to get rid of. Is that guy going to change him?
Let me ask you guys something. Say we hypothetically we want Ben Johnson. Do you see this franchise willing to do something they never done and just give a first-time head coach a blank check? Because I think Ben Johnson's going to set the record for a rookie contract as a head coach. I mean, do you see this franchise going all in and just saying, Ben Johnson, what do you want? Write it down. We're going to give everything you want. Do you see us? Because we've never done that. We have never shelled out the kind of money it's probably going to take to get this man. I mean, do you see us doing that?
We've never done it before. Why would we start?
I'm saying I hope that we don't do that.
No, I mean, do you see us doing it?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we never fired a head coach in season. We did it this year. Anything's possible. But at the same time, are we willing to do something that we should not be doing? Why would we?
Yes, we are.
Why? I'm just asking you because, like I said, because SportsCenter and First Take and Fox Sports tell you Ben Johnson is hot shit, you're gonna go out there and give him a blank checkbook? We don't know. We are rolling the dice if we do that because he has done nothing to prove to you that he can run a team. We know he can run an offense, but can you run a team? We knew Eberflus could run a defense, but he could not run a team. There's more to just being a head coach than being a fancy ass coordinator. We need somebody who has done it before.
I mean, to me, we botched the Harbaugh thing twice. We had two shots there. We lost him when we went to Michigan. We lost him last year. To me, we're interviewing Vrabel tomorrow. There's no reason why we can't sign that guy tomorrow.
But let me ask you this. You're right, and Todd, you are 100% right. But you want me to tell you what really burns my ass? We fired Eberflus week 12.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel has been unemployed. Yes. Why in the fuck are we just now talking to him?
Or Belichick, who has said he wanted to talk to us.
And what are you waiting on? You fired a head coach 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. Tomorrow we'll have him in our building. It feels like Bruce Arians to me again. It feels 100% like Bruce Arians again. We're gonna let that guy walk out. And Ben Johnson's going to say no thank you to the Patriots because they just don't have the talent. They've got cap space. They've got draft picks, whatever. They don't, and they have a decent quarterback, but it's not the same thing. And he's going to say no to them quickly, and they're going to take Vrabel, and we have him on our building tomorrow. And but we're not going to do it because we've got this big list of people.
Yeah, I don't see any way we're going to hire and interview 13 guys.
And Poles is gonna talk to all these guys because he wants to make it look like, hey, I'm not being told what to do, and we're gonna screw this up.
You look like an idiot because you have been without a head coach for 6 weeks, and you just now get into the interview process. That is asinine to me.
Yeah.
And if Mike Vrabel is one of the favorites, you could have talked to him. You could have had the 2-3 interviews with him by now. You could have did all the background work on him. What are you waiting on?
Right.
Why did we wait 6 weeks before we started talking to anybody?
You could have had a handshake deal in place. I can see him saying, no, I don't want to come in there with 6 weeks to go. But you could have cut a deal with him. Say, we're going to name this interim coach. We're not going to go with him. And had a handshake deal and just rolled right into that, And you could have done that with Belichick. My God.
Yes. Yeah. There's nothing keeping you from talking to either of them because they're not employed. So, guys, we have 5 minutes left. So this is going to be very quick. final thoughts. So, Todd, I'll go to you first. Very quickly, what's your final thoughts on our beloved Chicago Bears?
Just glad the season's over. Glad to see the beat the Packers. That was that was a long time. It was like 2,200 days or something. I read that somewhere. I mean that's just incredible that they have just dominated us for all this time. But I don't know. I don't have any confidence. If it's Anthony Weaver or Mike Kafka or Todd Monken or whoever, I just somebody that we can get for whatever the
cheaper
bottom dollar number is. I'm not surprised, and if Pohl signs off on it because he gets a extra 5 years out of it to try to do something, then it's disappointing. But I could see all of that happening, and I'm just nauseous over it at this point.
So, guys, my final thoughts. Just thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments. Please follow us, like us, love us, subscribe to us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And that's my final thought, and I'll let Clarence have the final word.
I mean, listen, at the risk of going on another tangent, I'm just going to say this. This is the most important offseason in franchise history. Because if you get the head coach wrong again, you have now wasted Caleb Williams. And how much money are you going to have to pay him to operate in the ineptitude and the incompetence of the Chicago Bears franchise? You're already going to have to pay him a bunch of money. By the time the cycle runs around where we got to pay him, we're going to have to pay this dude $50-60 million a year. Yeah. And to me, that's an ungodly amount to pay a quarterback. Just my opinion. But you cannot fuck this up. Because if you do, you waste him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You absolute waste him. You already think about it, guys. He's going into year 2. And by the time he suits up for the Chicago Bears next year, he would be on his 3rd offensive coordinator. That is unheard of.
Yeah.
In football world. That's unheard of. You on year 2 and you're gonna already be on your 3rd offensive coordinator. You cannot fuck this up. You cannot. But if anybody would, it'd be the Chicago Bears.
That's right here. Yes,
you can almost justify having him in on the interviews. You know what I mean? I hate that, but it's true. So I hate the players having to say, but he might ought to have a say.
Yeah, I think Caleb Williams should. I think he should. I wish we would have brought that up. I think he should absolutely have a say in what offense he likes to run, what he feels comfortable with. But guys, we're out of time for this show. Again, thank you for the comments, feedback. Please like us, follow us, subscribe to us. We love you guys. We love the Bears, even though sometimes we feel like filing for a divorce. I don't know why we follow them, but with that being said, bear down until next time.
Bear down.
Thank you.